For a maximum viewing experience, please use the headset or earbuds, turn off the lights, and watch in the evening. These are not mandatory, but absolutely recommended. Thank you. Warning, the following does include swearing. Late One Night by Burning Brit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who cares? I lost the count a while back. Strong shit too. I'm sitting at the local pub in Lowly City, washing down my sadness with the comfort of my friend Jack Daniel. There's a bunch of others here too, despite the time of night. Friends celebrating, losers trying to get lucky, non-drinkers hanging out at the billiards table. Me? I fucked up big time, and I'm forcing my shame onto my liver. Not the best way to deal with problems, but hey, it works. My name is Kyle. I've just gotten in the call that my application to play one of the leading roles in a movie, which is going to be big, might I add, has just got declined. Yeah, I'm an actor. Or at least I was gonna be. I took an acting class for 3 years, and I was suggested by my instructor to try applying at a nearby studio. I was so confident that I'd make it that I quit my previous job. Except I didn't get that job. Rent's due this weekend, and I don't have enough time to find another job, so here I am, thinking I've had enough for the night. I started to stand and felt my immense dizziness wash over my senses. Probably had one too many, I thought, as I started to stagger out of the bar. Hey, you didn't pay for that last one. I turned to face the bartender and replied, "Put it on my tab, Mike. I'll get it to you on Monday." He rolled his eyes and went back to serving the other losers like me. I stumbled out into the chilly fall air and took a deep breath. This city was quite empty for being so crowded. This wasn't one of those small towns where everybody knew each other. Chances are, if you saw somebody once, you'd never meet them again. Yet the streets were very rarely packed, let alone catching people walking on the sidewalk or taking the bus. I shrugged it off and turned to head home. Walking was kind of difficult. It made me glad I didn't drive out here. I didn't really expect to see anybody. However, there was somebody walking on the other side of the street. This fellow was out awful late, I thought, as I checked my phone for the time. 2 in the morning. I shrugged it off and continued to my destination. To each their own, I suppose. He's smart for wearing a hooded coat. It's fucking freezing out here. I walked at a steady pace, not to really giving anything a second glance. However, something didn't seem right. I glanced over to my left to the other side of the street. The person that I saw earlier seemed to be headed in the same direction as me. Huh, weird, I thought. He was walking in the opposite direction that I was going earlier. Maybe he forgot to turn at his house, but I kept going, turning the corner onto my home street. I glanced back and noticed the man was no longer there. Strange, I whispered. Maybe I've had too much to drink tonight. As I walked along the street, my eyes felt like they were playing tricks on me. Do you know when you're like one of those kind of paranoid moods and everything seems to be making movements in your peripheral vision? Well, I kept seeing dark images, like darting around from left to right, but every time I turned my head to look at them, they were just dark alleys. I just wanted to get home and sleep this off, I told myself. I rolled around my thoughts and got the feeling that I was being watched again. I glanced around but saw nothing. I sighed and silently promised myself I would never drink this much again. This is just giving me the creeps. I knew I wouldn't live up to it though. Suddenly, I heard a sound that made every hair on my body stand on end. A low, dark laugh wavered out from one of the dark alleys. I stood dead in my tracks, swinging my head wildly to find the source of the cackle. Doing so that reminded me of my trip to the bar earlier, and I nearly vomited. I bent over and, breathing hard, tried to gather my bearings. I looked out and called, "Hey! Whoever's over there, just fuck off, alright?" The only response I got was from the howl of the wind, so I waringly continued walking. I came upon my apartment building shortly after. I walked up the stairs and headed to my apartment. I reached for my keys, grabbed them from my coat pocket, inserted the wand to my door and started to turn the knob when I noticed it. The same man in the hood that I saw earlier could be seen in the reflection of the glass pane above the door. This time, however, He was walking across the street directly towards my building. He was standing under a lone street lamp that occasionally flickered, peering at me, and for a brief second I caught a glimpse of his face. For what I could make out from a distance, he had no pupils. It was just a blank white colour. His mouth was in a strange smile, moving rhythmically, as if he were giggling. I swung the door open, slammed it closed, and locked it to the bolt. I closed the blinds to the window, locking it in the process. I sat in my chair with the lights off and waited. I got up, walked to the window, and slowly pressed down on one of the blinds and peered out. He was standing right in front of the door. I jumped back and ran into my bedroom. I slammed the door, locked it, and headed to my bed. I kept a box containing a Glock under my bed. I removed it and loaded it. I knelt on the opposite side of my bed, a gun pointed at the door, and prepared myself. I waited for what seemed like hours without hearing a single sound other than my heavy breathing. I began to doze off, but jolted awake when my head touched the mattress. I walked over to the door, unlocked it, and opened it just a crack so I could see through. No one was here. I kept my Glock at the ready and walked into the rest of my apartment, heading towards the door. I peered through the eye hole but saw nothing. I decided that since I kept everything locked, that whoever it was would be unable to get in, so I decided that I should go to bed. I went back to my room and put the Glock on the nightstand next to my bedtime table, and laid down. I quickly fell to sleep due to fatigue. I woke up the next morning, banging on my apartment door. Oh God, my head was on fire. I sluggishly got out of bed and got to my feet, and walked out of my room to the door. I peered through the hole carefully, and saw a few police officers stood outside. "Just 1 minute," I called and rushed to put my Glock away. I went back to the door, unbolted the lock, and tried myself up with a good slap before greeting them. "Good morning, officer. What can I do for you?" I asked without trying to sound like somebody who hasn't had a good rest in weeks. "Morning, sir. I'm Officer Randy Goodman, Chief of the Silent Hill Police Department. We'd like to ask you a few questions in regards to the room next to yours. Where were you last night around 2:40? I swallowed hard and told them that I had gone out for a bit and came home exhausted and went straight to bed. He turned to exchange glances with the other officers that had accompanied him before turning back to me. "I see. Mind if we take a quick look around your apartment?" I shook my head. "Go ahead." The officer I'd been talking to nodded and walked in, accompanied by another. 2 officers stood outside as if to keep an eye on me. If they suspected me of something, they could have just told me, I thought. The other 2 officers returned a few minutes later. The chief took out a notepad and pen and began scribbling notes, recording that they didn't find much, I assume. "Everything seems to be in order. Sorry for disturbing you. Have a nice day." He started to head towards the staircase next to the floor when I stopped him. "Hold on a second. What happened to the apartment next to mine? Why did you need to search in here?" The chief officer looked a little distraught, and his eyes darted around aimlessly. He cleared his throat and said, "Look, son, there's been a murder next door. Reports say that a local resident heard some screaming very early in the morning, probably from a woman. We found the body of Suzanne Smith in her bedroom. The details are far too violent for me to describe." My eyes widened as I instantly thought of the man from the previous night. "I suggest you take extreme caution and security measures until the purpose call." I started to get really nervous and I blurted, "Excuse me," I started. "But Miss Smith didn't happen to have her door locked?" The officer shook his head, a slight look of sorrow playing across his facial features. "Unfortunately, no. If she had, she may still be here today. We found no evidence of a blunt weapon being used, meaning the murderer might not have been able to get to her if the door was locked." I lowered my gaze to the floor. Did he attack her because he couldn't attack me? A wave of guilt suddenly washed over me, but I returned my attention to Randy. I see. He let out a sigh and asked, "Is there anything else you can tell me? Every detail helps." I feel like I was going to vomit from the sheer pressure that was being placed on me. Yeah, I saw a man here. I was pretty tired last night, but I could have sworn he followed me home. He wore blue jeans and a hooded sweater. Most of his head was covered, but from what I could make out, I didn't know how I could tell them the most crucial detail about the man. There was no way they would believe me. "Go ahead, son," the chief pushed. I tried again, and this ended up blurting it out. The man had no pupils. Not at all. He didn't even have irises. The route I took home, and the very little lighting due to the openly several street lamps being placed on the curbs, but I'm telling you that this is true. Randy just looked at me. Whether it was disbelief or something else was beyond me. He slowly looked to the other officers, who exchanged the same looks with him, and even to me. I knew they wouldn't believe me. It's such a stupid tale. Randy cleared his throat and scribbled on the notepad, "All right, we'll keep an eye out for the suspect. We're going to try and search the rest of the complex." He reached into his shirt pocket and pulled out a card, which he handed to me. "This number goes directly to me. Call me immediately if you find anything else." I nodded, and he motioned for his squad to follow him. "Have a good one and be safe," they continued down the hall, knocking on the door next to mine as I went back inside. I closed the door and locked it again. I sighed deeply and went back into the kitchen to grab myself some breakfast. It was already afternoon, but what can you do? I grabbed a bowl from the shelf and headed to the fridge. I grabbed a half-empty jug of milk and brought it with me as I got some cereal. Man, what a fucked up way to start the morning, I thought, as I finished mixing my bowl. I put both the jug and the box away and went up the stairs to my room. Upon entering the doorway, I sat down on my bed and grabbed the TV remote and turned on the TV. I wondered how long they would take the news for the murder to reach the station. As I flicked through the different channels to find something I would enjoy, I ended up watching some stupid sitcom, only long enough to finish my breakfast. I placed my bowl on my nightstand next to my bed and went into my closet. I grabbed some clean clothes and headed to the bathroom, which was connected to my bedroom. I shut the door behind me and turned on the light and placed my clothes down on the sink, grabbing a towel from a nearby rack. I opened the shower curtain to start the water, only I didn't. I stumbled back and dropped my towel as I tripled and hit the wall behind me. This was a message in the bathtub. I shook my head in disbelief and stood again, inches closer to check and make sure what I saw was real. Oh, it was. It was very real. My eyes started to burn and water as I read the message written on the dark red one last time. "I hope I have as much fun with you as I did with her." Okay guys, that is actually it. I really hope you enjoyed. The link to the actual creepypasta will be down below. Once again, the credit goes to the burning Brit. It's called Late One Full Night. This is the first time I've actually recorded a creepypasta video, so sorry for the mic quality, probably being able to hear me breathe throughout the entirety of it, but I hope you do enjoy nevertheless, so hopefully you will stick around and find the next one. If I have done the next one, it'll be down in the description below, and I hope you enjoy. See you later.